Our scripture reading today comes from Matthew chapter 16, verses 21 through 26. It follows immediately after the pivotal moment when Jesus says, "Who do you say that I am?" And Peter, speaking for the others, says, "You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God." This is what happens next. From that time on, Jesus began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and undergo great suffering at the hands of the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed, and on the third day be raised. And Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him, saying, "God forbid it, Lord! This must never happen to you." But he turned and said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me, for you are setting your mind not on divine things, but on human things." Then Jesus told his disciples, "If any want to become my followers, let them deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For those who want to save their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake will find it. Or what will it profit them if they gain the whole world but forfeit their life? Or what will they give in return for their life?" This is not something we saw coming. The very person who did so well and who received Jesus' blessing, Peter, is now out of sync with the Master. Not just a little bit either. Jesus says something like this, "When I hear you talking, I hear the devil." Jesus knows the wiles of the devil from the 40 days of being tempted in the wilderness. He recognizes that voice, and it's coming from none other than Peter. How do you like that? How would you like Jesus to tell you that you've crossed over to the opposing team? Not good. What is the problem? Peter has the notion, a common one among the Jews of that day, that we need a leader who will get things done and won't be afraid to get his hands dirty, even bashing in a few heads along the way if necessary. For the kingdom to come, there just might be some collateral damage. And thus, when Jesus talks about his path, how the only head that will roll will be his own, that does it for Peter. So he asserts himself against the very one he's just declared to be the Messiah. That is a strange move if there ever was one. And you end up with the Messiah telling his number one supporter, "You've crossed the line." Peter's thought processes have departed from God's. This is not a small thing. This is a major break. Jesus says that he is a Messiah who will suffer, and Peter wants no part of that. The trouble with Peter, as Jesus sees it, is his thinking. "You are a stumbling block to me, for you are setting your mind not on divine things, but on human things." His mindset is now shaped by the world, not by the Lord, which means that he'll run roughshod over other people to get what he wants. His mind has room for success, yes, but no room for the path of suffering love. Wonder about ourselves. I wonder if some of Peter's mentality might take root in us too. How easy it is for us to go our own way. Even when we say we want to do the Lord's work, we're tempted to use the methods of the devil. Jesus is the Messiah, he is the King, but he declares that he will assume his throne by taking the low road, the path of suffering love, even to the point of death. This came as a huge shock to Peter, and it still comes to a shock to people these days. And so this story of Peter's temporary break with Jesus serves as a serious warning to us. But in spite of the way that Peter has broken ranks with Jesus, Jesus still offers Peter and anyone who wishes an opportunity to follow him in the way that he's going. So he tells his disciples, if any want to become my followers, let them deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. It's not too late. It's not too late for Peter and the others, but their mindset will have to change. Jesus is calling for something counterintuitive. It seems backward. In order to gain, you have to lose. If you set out to gain your life in the normal way, it will backfire on you. You might say Jesus is driving a hard bargain. What he's calling for doesn't seem to make sense. But Jesus insists following his path is the only way that does make sense. He's essentially asking any potential disciple, sit down and do the math. What matters to you? What things are really valuable to you? Line up the different possibilities in columns side by side so you can see clearly and make a wise choice. On one side of the page, the world and all the things the world offers. On the other side, your life. Which will you value more? It is a hard word that Jesus is speaking, but I think he's actually doing everybody a favor because he's telling the truth. If you're going to commit yourself to a Messiah who says he's going to conquer by laying down his life, don't be surprised if it ends up being a costly path for you too. Now, if Jesus were really insecure, what would he do? He might lower the bar, win Peter back by saying, actually, we'll do it your way. No, Jesus doesn't do that. Nor does he write them off as hopeless, give up on them altogether. Instead, he issues an invitation. If any want to become my followers, here's what to expect. So he asks a couple of pointed questions about the direction we're going. What matters to you? When all is said and done, will you adopt Jesus' way of thinking and follow his path? Think about it. Which is better in the end? Following him or going your own way? He leaves it in our hands. You do the math.